Humanity has to awaken to help facilitate Mother Earth's transition into a new age that we're entering. We're on the threshold of a great shift. The prophecies by ancient cultures from around the world speak of love and inspiration. It's coming, the Great Awakening. And in the fifth dimensional reality is like a new timeline where we're living much more enlightened on the planet, living in harmony with Mother Earth and with each other. So we're on a threshold, but before the fifth dimension becomes the big shift, we first have to embody the fifth dimensional teaching. As we begin to master the fifth dimensional teaching in the 3D, that opens the door for the next great shifts to come.
Guy here, if you enjoy diving down the rabbit hole with me, then this podcast is a must. If you like the idea of mystical experiences, UFO encounters, using sacred energy spots to activate your own spiritual awakening, 5D and spiritual prophecies that are happening on the planet right now, and a hell of a lot more, then this guest, Rahelio Rodriguez, who was a beautiful human. It was just such a great conversation. Of course, if you enjoy them and you get a lot out of it, please be sure to let me know in the comments your thoughts, where you are in the world. It's great always connecting as well. And I hope to meet you somewhere in the world in 2025. Links are below if you want to catch up with us somewhere in Bali, Croatia, Australia. We'll be running our one-day events as well as our retreats, of course, 5-day retreats if you want to dive fully in. Anyway, much love from me. Enjoy this one, Rahelio. It's awesome. Rahelio, welcome to the podcast, my man.
Hello, glad to be here.
I love to start the podcast with this very simple question, mate. Let's imagine you were on an aeroplane right now or an intimate dinner party and you sat next to a stranger and they said, "Oh, what do you do for a living?" How would you respond?
What do I do for a living? I do a lot of different things, but I'm located in a very magical place called Sedona, Arizona. We have these red rock mountains here, and it's a sacred land. When people come, they feel the power of the land, and it can be a catalyst for a spiritual quickening for them. So I've been working as a spiritual guide here since 1988 is when I started. And I got my own company in 1990, taking people on the land and doing shamanic work, drumming and singing and chanting shamanic teachings, and helping people connect with the earth energy, sky energy, connect with nature, natural self, do meditative and dream journeying, and work with a medicine wheel, and work with just bringing people here to help them connect either privately or in groups. And I'm also a professional astrologer. I've been doing astrology since I started in the 80s. I've been at it a long time, and play a little bit of music, and I perform weddings. And I kind of do a little bit of all purpose. I do some sound healing. I've been doing a lot of healing work. I've been able to help people clear trauma, anxiety, addictions, negative self-talk, helping people to reprogram themselves.
Wow, there's a lot in there, isn't there? And I've always wanted to go to Arizona. I certainly hope I get there one day. I've heard nothing but magical things about the place. From that experience, like you said, in what would it be, over 30 years? If you from
Yeah, 30. I've been here 37 years in Sedona. So I started half a year into it. I got into my 88. I became a vortex spiritual guide, and I evolved from there.
There's a couple of questions for you. There's you must have seen thousands of people come through then over that time.
I have.
And what do you find is the common theme for people? Why would they come to a sacred land? What are they looking for, and what do they generally find? Because quite often it's very different to what the mind thinks they need to what they're actually needing or being called forward to.
For different people, different reasons. Some people come and they say, "I don't know why I'm here, but I had to come." The name Sedona popped up in my imagination or my dream, and I saw something on the TV and something hit me. I just have to be here. I don't know why. So some people are like that. They just show up and they don't know why, but they have to be here. And others have heard about Sedona, and they're on their spiritual path. They're on this path of awakening, and they're feeling very inspired to come to strengthen this awakening process and help them for the next step of their life.
Yeah.
For different people, different reasons. And a lot of people come here, they don't even know anything about Sedona. They just come and it kind of blows them open and starts them off on their self-discovery.
How much of a difference does it make to one person who's seeking to actually come to a spiritual land? You speak about the energy, you speak about vortexes, which I'd love to get into in a minute. So actually themselves take into a place, to a sacred space. What is that interaction? How is that helping one in their own development?
This is like a historical thing. All through history, people have been making pilgrimages to sacred sites. It's a kind of a fundamental premise of their religious practices to go to their sacred sites. And all over the world, you have the various cultures have these sites. And so these places have more energy. So when you engage with it, it begins to activate your awakening. And on some level, we are a reflection of the earth itself. And when we go to certain power spots, it gives us a piece of ourself back. So like you have 7 major chakras, Earth has 7 continental chakras. You're over 2/3 composed of water. Earth is over 2/3 composed by water. You've got an acupuncture meridian grid system in your body. The Earth has a spider woman's web. It's like the Earth's crystal grid. And everything is mirroring. In your body, you have Kundalini. And so for the Earth, this energy rises up from the Earth's core, goes through her body, rises up into the atmosphere, comes down as a lightning bolt. So the lightning energy is the Kundalini energy. So the mountains are like pyramids. It's gathering the Earth's energy, the lightning energy is focusing it. And as you go up the mountain, it brings your energy up. You drive into Sedona, it's like, bam, you feel the power of the mountains. The mountains are holding the power of the vortex. The mountains are the temples. And the rock pinnacles, those are like the guardian spirits.
Wow, that's incredible. So you're saying then, with that interaction with Mother Earth, especially in a sacred space like Arizona, where that energy is potent, that we are then working with that energy to clear our own energy systems that are mirroring the energy systems of the earth ultimately.
Yes, it's like it helps to jumpstart us and it quickens the process of the evolution. And a lot of people come here, then they begin to awaken to their greater potentials.
Wow. What is a vortex spirit guide then? I don't know if I used the right term that you said earlier.
Well, there's a lot of people in town because Sedona is a major tourist attraction.
Okay.
We have the Grand Canyon, which is a major attraction. And then people go like Sedona also. So that you get a lot of people drawn to the Grand Canyon. It's a great wonder there. And then coming here, people are trying to make a living. So tourism is a big part of the economy here. So you have different guides who are taking people to the various sites. And they've, picking up on what has been told or taught about that. So then they share that. And I'm more original with what I share. I don't really base my work up other people. And I've kind of I connect the dots. So in my work, I evolved into the role that I play. And I got here when I was 31 years old. When I dropped out of college when I was 22. I was in the Bay Area in Marin County, California. I dropped out. I was having mystical experiences, and I needed to go find myself somewhere. And I wanted to drop out of school. Opportunity came for me to go to Maui, Hawaii, so I went there. And so I was studying very obsessively ancient wisdom, yoga, healing modalities, shamanism, etc. And when I lived in Hawaii, I had a close encounter with a UFO.
Really?
It came right down over me. Yeah, it came right down over me, about maybe 40 yards over my head, hovered right above me. I was visiting from friends, and I left the house, went outside under the stars, and it came right down on me. It was humming, shimmered over my head. And then my friends came out of the house. I turned the light on. I saw the light on the porch. They came out. It was pitch black out, but the stars were brilliant. And they were yelling at me, Rahelio, it's a UFO. And in my mind, I'm thinking, trying to be rational. I'm it looks like a wing. So it's like a plane, but there's no nose or no tail. And planes don't hover. And it's not a helicopter because helicopters don't make that sound. It doesn't look like, blah, 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 blah to the fellas. So I'm being really rational. And then they're yelling at me, it's a UFO. So I laugh to myself because I know it's a UFO, but my rational mind is kicking in. So this has been a teaching that has been given to me a few times. When the mystics, they said the rational mind is the slayer of that which is real. That means we try to rationalize everything first and bring everything to a 3D context. But when we're coming from a higher level of understanding, it blocks, the rational mind blocks our intuitive knowingness. In shamanism, it's called silent wisdom. You have knowingness, but we talk ourselves out of what we know because we don't trust our intuition. So our rational mind is our male side and our intuitive side is our female side. We're living in a right-hand dominant world. The right side is the male side. Left brain crosses over, rational, mastering the 3D, our description or our doing. And the night side, when we're healing through our sleep and we're dreaming, that's our female side. So the females hold the healing side of the dream, the intuitive psychic side, the feminine intuition, mother's intuition. Males are more towards the doers and we're rational thinking and mastering. So the left hand has been repressed because people were scared of the left side. That was the night side. And the left side is like the full moon. What are you doing out of the full moon? You have to be a lunatic because you're crazy because that's when the vampire and the werewolf comes out. So you better get in and put your sacred things up to keep negative energy out. The struggle of good and evil, right hand was good and left hand was bad, positive, negative. That was the female side has been repressed. The female has been repressed. So we're on a journey toward the female starting to awaken and get equality. And so our own female self, and I ask the females this all the time, do you get intuitions, but you talk yourself out of it? Like us men, we do that all the time. And they say the same thing. Yeah, I knew I should have done this. I talked myself out of it. So we're not ready for our female side to fully awaken yet, but we're running to move that way to awaken the intuitive feminine side, the healing side. And that connects us, the right hand, the day side, the left hand, the night side. That connects us with the sky power above us. We call this a third attention. The third attention where we bring in a fifth dimensional consciousness is the higher mind. The everyday rational world, this is the 3D. The dreaming level, the astral plane is the fourth dimension. And then the fifth dimension is the awakening of the higher mind. So bringing this down. And so going to sit with the mountain of silence helps a person to begin to hear their inner voice because everybody has a higher knowing self, but his rational mind drowns it out until we can turn this thing off and begin to attune to the inner silence. So that's like the first step. And then the second step is like gathering enough energy because we have a difficulty keeping up all of our responsibilities and it can be stressful. We don't get enough rest. And so when we don't have energy, then our light becomes dim and we can't shine to our fullest potential. So we go to power places to receive that energy, to quiet the mind, become still, to gather that energy. And especially if you go eating right and drinking right and exercising right, energetic practices, yogic practice, etc., shamanic practice. So you're gathering that energy with a quiet mind and then become a conduit for your own knowingness to come through. And you come into power places because it holds that power of the lightning energy, the Kundalini energy, and it holds that silence. And that's what we need is to get away from this chatter mind, which we are so invested in because we're trying to manifest our 3D world. We do talking and we have podcasts or we watch the news and we listening to people teaching more, their information, but it's all rational mind. Mm-hmm. So now we have to be able to shut that off and assimilate it and let the higher mind speak through. In the higher mind, we already have all the answers. And that's what I discovered with when I had my mystical expressions with the star people making contact with me and telling me things telepathically. I was saying to them, I already know that. Why are you telling me that? And they told me a lot about what's going on, and I already know that. And then I felt rude that I was being Mr. Know-It-All. And I said, I don't know any of that. How do I know that? They're talking to me telepathically. And after my encounter on Maui, I had a couple of encounters then. I came to Sedona. And when I got here on the summer solstice, 1987, I was in a meditation, and they beamed into my mind. They tapped on the forehead, about 20 seconds to tap until it penetrated, being the pineal gland. And then these women, the same women that had contacted me on Maui, they began to speak to me telepathically. And they said to me, I was 31 years old at the time. I dropped out at 22. Had been studying mystical, shamanic, astrological wisdom. 'Cause I was obsessed with that. I got here, and they said, "This is where you come to do your work. You're to be a spiritual guide. There'll be thousands and thousands of people coming looking for answers. Speak of love and inspiration. There's going to be a great awakening coming, has been prophesied by the ancient cultures from around the world." Then they start telling me more and more. And I thought saying, I already know that. And they tell me some more, I already know that. And then I felt a little bit like Mr. Know-it-all. And I felt I kind of felt a little guilty about that, got that ego. And I said, I don't know what I'm saying this for. I don't know. I talked myself out of what I know. And then they said goodbye to me. So all this time, I've just been recovering a little bit of that information they gave me. It was all about our minds are creating our reality, mastering our minds. We are in a quantum consciousness as we move to the higher level. And the rest is like, I just start to share what I know. It just kind of comes through me.
Yeah.
So we don't have all the answers, but we have enough answers to be a guide.
Yeah. Wow. There's a lot in there, that share. Thank you. There's a couple of things I guess I want to jump into with that. Was that you said you were having mystical experiences at a young age. Was there anything you did that activated them, or was it just starting to happen? You didn't know what was going on?
A little bit of both. On one level, I grew up in the 70s, after the 60s, and the social revolution of the 60s. And people were doing psychedelics and smoking marijuana, etc. So as a teenager, my friends were doing that same thing. I discovered right away that I was way more sensitive than them. And when they're having fun and being adventurous and wild, I'm going through an identity crisis. I'm melting, my ego's melting, and I feel like death is over me. So I feel like I'm dying. So I had to start praying, like, why am I dying? What's this about? And so I didn't want to be social with people, because it's doing that made me feel very vulnerable to not be in that flow where I've gone more introspective. And so I found myself doing that alone and exploring my psyche, and a couple of times pushing myself to the edge to where I had to pray to make connection with the Great Spirit. And then I had from the higher powers, make contact, had Kundalini experience, and I had some contact like the spiritual presence.
Wow.
And so that was always a trigger for me. But I didn't realize it back in those days, but I was doing Vision Quest. And so Vision Quest has been a part of shamanic traditions. And I think all the peoples around one time or other were doing Vision Quest.
Incredible. And when you activate, because you've mentioned the word Kundalini a few times, and that Kundalini energy, what are your thoughts on it? Is it something, because I hear people trying to force an awakening or is it something that will naturally happen as you just lean into the practices? Is this something we should be fearful of or embrace? I mean, from all your experience and going through it yourself, what would you say?
There's a certain amount of danger to it. I've talked to people who contacted me who have participated in Kundalini workshops and have hit by the light in their heads with the Kundalini energy. And then all of a sudden telling the facilitators, I had this experience and I'm feeling like I'm comfortable with it. I don't know how to handle it. And the facilitators tell them, you're one of the lucky ones. It's okay. You win. Everybody wants that. But that person go home and then now they're anxious because they can't turn it off. They're feeling really vulnerable with it. So I even talked to people who had been contacting me that were Kundalini teachers and had their Kundalini going, and they were feeling that anxiety and couldn't turn it off. And I would share with them simple techniques to how to ground themselves. I was fortunate in the early 90s, there was an old yogi would come to town. And so friends of mine, they were go over and visit with him. So I sit in when I get a chance, and he was talking and he was saying, I think he was even focusing on me. He said that quite often you could be with people, a group of people, and some people have Kundalini awakening, and then if you don't know how to shut it off, they can go crazy and lose their mind. And so some of my gatherings, I saw that happen spontaneously when people have Kundalini awakenings and start shaking and crying because they don't know what's going on. I'm out of control. And very simply, you can touch a person on the top of their head, rub down their spine to their tailbone, and push the Kundalini back down, turn it off. And that in a lot of my healing modalities where I help people clear, one of the big ones is anxiety. And I use trigger points in the body to help people release stuck energy, certain eye movements and other wipes on the body. I wipe the body and I pull the energy out and down to the feet, down, ground them. So the Kundalini energy has a dangerous side when it happens and you're not in harmony with it. In other words, it's triggering your fight or flight survival mechanism, probably your root chakra. That's triggering, and how you're living like a PTSD, in constant reaction like that. And but when you ground yourself, then that comes up as excitement and bliss and inspiration and creativity, and when you're in the creative flow. And so by being physically active, like whether you're go to the gym and work out, or people go run on the beach, or they're doing their yoga, or they're doing their qigong, or they're working out physically, getting in the body. Just by getting in the body and getting your creativity flowing, that creative energy is your Kundalini. Now to awaken it more, people like Vision Quest, people can be meditating their whole life and then they only get so far, but as a teenager or an early 20-year-old have a mystical experience with a psychedelic and they hit so much higher than the person who's been going the slow, steady path for 25 years.
Mm.
That's why so many people today they want ayahuasca, they want peyote, they want something psychedelic. And unfortunately, it's becoming a big business. And when you have business interest on there, that can taint it because now it's a business versus being in the temple or being on the land in a sacred space where people who are your community supporting you. So that's the trick about the modern time is that people need money to survive and make a living, to function, have a good lifestyle, so that it becomes a business like that. And that's where people maybe with the wrong motivations to get in it for the money versus because the spirit is guiding them to be to be in a healing capacity to help people.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. That's all very helpful. I got to pick up another point you made in your share earlier around the UFO. And the question I have for you, there's a couple actually, but the first one is, when you witnessed that UFO come in, had you just come out of a ceremony or something? Because I have heard that UFO sightings is a lot to do with the resonance that we are in, and then they will appear, as opposed to. So, and have you seen one since in Arizona?
Yeah, it's had many sightings in Arizona. It's happening everywhere, but especially here. The week before I had my UFO close encounter, I met a guy in the streets in a little town called Paia on Maui. He had a T-shirt and said UFOs are real, but the government's lying about it. So I talked to him about that and asked him what did he mean? What is the experience with that? And he was telling me that in the nighttime he was being taken up in his astral body onto this spaceship, and there were other people there and they're being taught. So I was open to the truth of that, although I wasn't sure whether he was just dreaming and in his imagination, or whether he was traveling in his astral body and being taught. So I was questioning in my mind. And back at that time, like every 7 days, I have a very intense question. 7 days later, the answer would come. This had happened. I was being spoon-fed by the spirit, information like that. And so a week later, after contemplating whether he was really having the experience versus just dreaming, and that's when the UFO experience happened for me. But also what was a trigger for me was that my friends were smoking Maui Wowie, which is a powerful marijuana. I smoke 1 or 2 hits of that, then I'm tripping for 12 hours. Marijuana like that is like ayahuasca for me. So it opens up my conduit, and I'm way sensitive more than most people. So some people smoke and then an hour later they want to smoke more. I smoke one time and I'm just still going for 10 hours like that. So when I did smoke with them, I was like, all of a sudden opened up my crown chakra and opened up my energy body. I said, I need to get out of the house because I'm feeling claustrophobic and I need to be out underneath that sky and feel. All of a sudden now my soul starts talking to me and I need to go out and pray to God and feel my oneness. And where am I? I'm in Hawaii. I'm under these stars. And I'm just in awe of the stars. I'm just so like, okay, God, like, here I am. And it's a catalyst for me in a real good way. That's why I only do it once in a while, but it's it's like a vision quest for me that opens me up. And then that's when all of a sudden the UFO came down. It was so bright with a little silver tinge to it. But I researched UFOs after that, and I saw that many of the sightings people had, when UFOs landed, they burned the ground. People were close; they burned their skin because of the nuclear-powered plasma engines. That technology is more volatile like that. But this one was right down over me, and it had none of that type of radiation. It was just like a frequency. It was like almost like a tuning fork or a crystal ball. It was just a high-pitched frequency that hovered. And then after they came out and said, really, it's a UFO, it just put aside, it was gone. It went interdimensional.
Was it big, small? Like
it was probably, I think it's probably about 30 yards long and probably maybe 10 yards wide. Maybe it's 15 and 40 or 10 and 30, but it was cigar shaped. But it was close to me. That's why I took up 2/3 of the sky. But it wasn't really that big. It was down low over me. And so I studied a little bit about UFO phenomenon, but I see a lot of people are into disclosure and all that. But all that doesn't mean anything to me because when they're ready to make contact, they're going to make contact when they're ready. And it requires enough of us to be ready for it. We are part of the Mother Earth's consciousness. Humanity has to awaken to help facilitate Mother Earth's transition into a new age that we're entering. We're on the threshold of a great shift. And this is what the star people told me. They said the Great Awakening, been prophesied by ancient cultures from around the world, speak of love and inspiration because it's coming, the Great Awakening. They said it's going to come before the Earth goes through the next great cataclysm. The last time we had that big cataclysm with Atlantis and all the big changes like that, Earth went off its axis. In the future, the Earth is going to reset herself again, and it'll clean off what's going on now. It'll prepare for the next cycle of humanity that'll be here, probably a space age humanity. But most of us who are awakened, we're going to move into a fifth dimensional reality. And in the fifth dimensional reality is like a new timeline where we're living much more enlightened on the planet, living in harmony with Mother Earth and with each other. So we're on a threshold, but before the fifth dimension becomes the big shift, we first have to embody the fifth dimensional teaching. As we begin to master the fifth dimensional teaching in the 3D, that opens the door for the next great shifts to come.
And do you?
So when I say fifth dimension, back in the 60s, they had a downflow of energy come in, and the planets lined up in Aquarius. In the song called "This Is the Dawn of the Age of Aquarius," it became popular. The Dawn of the Age of Aquarius. That was sung by a band called the Fifth Dimension also. So what happened in the 60s is repeating in this 2020s with the Aquarius archetype.
Yeah, thank you. Because I'd like to dig into that a little bit more. So do you feel that that's all happening right now, and why there feels like a lot of turmoil on the planet? There's a lot of fear continually being pushed upon us.
The Aquarius archetype is being kicked in. So Pluto just went into Aquarius, and the last time in Aquarius was during the American Revolution, French Revolution, Industrial Revolution. So the revolution, breaking down the social order of things. So every 20 years we have an alignment with Jupiter and Saturn. Every 20 years they line up to the Earth. And so they line up in the first degree, a half a degree of the sign of Aquarius. So the last time in Aquarius was in the 60s, as I mentioned. What happened in the 60s? We had social revolution, rioting in the streets, anti-war protests, Black civil rights movement. The women were burning their bras because they didn't want to be confined to the kitchen and just be a house and mother kind of thing. Young men burning the draft cards. They want to go to a war they didn't believe in. And so LSD came on the scene. And next thing you know, the Beatles and the Yellow Submarine and they're tripping on LSD. And the Woodstock generation was born. And the song goes like, we're on our way to Metzger's farm to join in the celebration. We are stardust, we are golden, and we got to get back to the garden. So the psychedelic movement opened them up to remember their star connections, many of the people. That was the first wave of volunteers that came in to help raise the frequency of the planet, because back at that time, there was a lot of fear and war, and like the Cold Wars and the nuclear threat with Russia was threatening nuclear war. UFOs are appearing over our missile silos, nuclear silos, and shutting them down. So the same thing's happening now. The UFOs are becoming very prominent. UAP, they call it today. So all this social revolution was taking place, the violence, and that first wave of volunteers came in. They were from the heaven realm. They looked down upon the earth and said, they're not going to make it to the promised land. So we better incarnate to help raise the vibration. So that first wave of volunteers was the peace and love movement. And it came through our music, and it came through the awakening, through the psychedelics, etc. And that frequency of love, the Beatles singing, all we are singing is give peace a chance. And these love songs for the planet, that shit are the timelines that give us a chance to get past some major upheavals that were going to come upon the planet. Because what happens is that when we do the work down here, the star people are part of the Great Spirit's plan. They're able to intervene and help stabilize the earth and the sun to help us, give us more time to move into a positive future. So with this Jupiter-Saturn conjunction that happened in winter solstice of 2020, Pluto's going to hit it here now into December. It's going to hit that point again. It's already in orb. Pluto went into Aquarius, and now it's going to hit that Jupiter-Saturn conjunction. And with Aquarius, well, first it just came out of Capricorn, Pluto. That Capricorn is the government structures, the power systems, the corporations, the financial institutions. Pluto is Lord of the underworld. When you think of underworld figures, you think of gangsters and criminals and people working surreptitiously for selfish gain. So that energy has been exposed in our governments, the corruption in our governments, corruption in our corporations, in the pharmaceutical industry, corruption in the systems that that run the world. And that's why the United States, we've been seeing this big power struggle over. The United States is 248 years old. That's a Pluto cycle. Pluto returned to natal chart placement in the United States chart. So we're going through this big breakdown, which is a crisis for the Western world, because we're one of the leading powers. And so now that Pluto's gone into Aquarius, now we're starting to see governments start to topple. I think it was in someplace, I'm not sure what it's called, Georgia, I guess they call it, is having riots to try to overthrow the puppet over there. And of course, it's been going on in Ukraine and Israel. And the people want to rise up because they're not going to want to be repressed by authoritative governments. But with this Aquarius theme, it has two rulerships. One is Saturn and one is Uranus. Saturn is like the father time, pay your dues, hard work. This is conservative, this is traditional, and don't do this, don't take no risk. It's play it safe, is Saturn. And so in Aquarius, when you have a social group dynamic, Aquarius represents group goals, group values, our social group ideology, how we are moving together in the future. And Saturn, the conservative Saturn says you have to conform to the group think. If you don't conform, you get ostracized. So people are getting, you don't agree with us, then you're us against them. So we're getting rigid in our group ideology. And then the other rulership is Uranus, which is the revolutionary. The more conservative and rigid one side gets, like for instance, we have a big backlash with the right wing in our country taking power, or potentially taking power. But it's like that wanting to shut down too much freedom. Like women don't need to have a choice with their body, and we don't want transgender people, or we want too much of that. We want to keep that in the closet. We want to keep things conservative. And when they were feeling out of control, they were trying to overthrow the government. And so now, as this Aquarius energy, Uranus, is kicking in, it's going to create more reaction against, okay, we don't want to be controlled. We better break free. I think it's happening in Korea also, where the guy trying to go shut down authoritarian power control over the nation, and the people are saying, no, we're not going to go for that. So this Aquarian theme is about breaking free, the way the United States broke free from the European powers, from England back the last time around. The French Revolution took place. And what happened in France, Marie Antoinette was saying, oh, they don't have bread, then let them eat cake. And then she got the guillotine. So the powers that be, if they don't share the wealth, is going to create, like the people are going to rise up, and people of the right wing and the left wing have been fighting with each other and hate each other. It's like, wait a second, we're in this together. We have to find common ground and recognize what the real problem is changing the social structures to where we can all agree upon what we want.
Do you feel that will continue to just be kind of like a gradual process that we'll see in this lifetime? Or do you feel like it's actually all coming to a pinnacle where even like UFOs will make themselves visible to the humanity or something? Like there's so many different schools of thought that is happening. I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Well, like the UFOs are making themselves known back in those days. And then we've had, today they call it UAP, unidentified anomalous phenomenon, because they don't know what it is. It's in the water, it's in the sky. But they've been hovering around certain places, I think military places, and over our Washington capital. The UFO phenomenon is making itself present this past week. It's been very, it's becoming more obvious that they went in and let us know that there's somebody else here keeping an eye on things, not going to allow the nuclear war. I do believe that with Pluto in Aquarius, it gives power to Uranus, which is leaving Taurus, going into Gemini. Taurus has to do with resources and values. I have the for I am this Taurus. So what's our finances? What's our survivability? Our self-reliance? How's our economy? What sustains us? So right now it's like there'll be a lot of people in denial of the weather extremes, and people have been saying, "Oh, just a cycle," and they're just trying to poo-poo it. But all of a sudden now it's like becoming more prevalent in your face. Like, no, you can't deny it. Are we gonna move away from fossil fuels and move into a place of non-polluting technology, non-greenhouse gas, etc.? So I do believe that the STIR people are going to be broadcasting information to scientists to come through with free energy technologies, non-polluting technologies. I do believe that there's going to be more open contact. Like I had contact, 39 years ago, and had contact in the 90s. And so they haven't been contacting me overtly like that, because I guess they awakened me up to get on my path, and now I'm just being responsible to put the pieces together for myself, because I already have the answers inside. I know that. So I do think that we're going to have, there's the idea of war. People are in conflicting ideals right now. The planet Pluto, Mars war god has been in opposition to Pluto. So Mars has gone, Pluto in early Aquarius, Mars is going into Leo, is going backwards now, getting ready to go backwards, and it's going to dance with Pluto back and forth to Pluto till next April. And so that's where people really got to decide, are we going to stop with this war? Are we going to begin to shut down this Gaza war? Are we going to shut down this thing with Iran? And what's going on with Ukraine? Is Russia, is it sustainable for Russia to keep this war going? And North Korea's trying to get in there, and they're losing all their guys too. And it's like, are we going to destroy our economy by embargoes and tariffs and all this kind of warfare of economics, warfare of military, warfare of ideology? Are we going to do this, or are we going to find solutions to, like, okay, we don't need to push it over the edge? That's happened in the past time. People pushed it over the edge. And so now it's a matter of people, spiritual people, putting their prayers to the universe, or offering their prayer, going into their meditation, visiting sacred sites, making a frequency of non-fear. Because if you fear something, you get power to create it. So if the collective is being fed fear, like, oh, the process is going to happen, it's just going to hit the fan, then we're creating that we're giving power to that thought part. But if people are going like, hey, many people have died and come back to talk about near-death experience. They say, oh, I was so scared to death to die, and then I crossed over, and I went into the universal, and the universe is pure love. The great spirit God is pure love. And now that I know this, I come back to share that message. Don't be afraid of death, but live your heaven now. As if people begin to drop their fear about duality, what they can't control, and begin to awaken what they can control, their own inner self-realization, and raise up their frequency to celebrate love and joy, and gather people of like-mindedness, and connect with global meditations and musical performances, and people begin to spread an idea of hope because, like I said, you die, you're going into heaven if you're living right. So get your life right. And enough of us get our life right and begin to master that 5D, fifth dimensional perspective here and now. Enough of us get that down, then it'll open a door to a new timeline, and we're going to step into an earth where everybody's living in harmony. And it may be that those people who cannot raise their vibration because they're too fear-based and hatred-based, too separative in their mind, they don't want to open up. It may be a split where they stay with the 3D earth and go down with it as it resets itself for the next cycle of humanity. So I always pray that for like the Ebenezer Scrooge Christmas ghost of past, present, and future, that will come upon our leaders who are doing wrong and show them they're wrong, that they're doing, that they better make changes to take us from a destructive future to one that is very positive and a very, a healing choice for us.
Yeah, thank you for sharing all that, because ultimately the power is within us and it's bringing it back,
Yes.
right? And so my question to you is then, with what you said, there's a couple of loops that have opened up in my brain there. But one is, do you feel there is enough momentum? Do you feel there's enough people waking up if we are then starting to be our own, working on our inner world to connect to our higher selves and raise our own frequencies, that is then contributing enough to the global consciousness thought form that happens?
Yeah.
Oh
yeah. A lot of people who are awakening spiritually have gone into research, and they come across the conspiracy of the deep state, conspiracy of the Antichrist presence on the planet that is trying to keep humanity down. And so they give power to that, and they start fighting that in their mind. And all that does is take them down a rabbit hole of negativity and resentment and frustration and powerlessness. We don't have to give any power to that. That's why Lord Jesus said, resist ye not evil. We don't need to struggle with that. That's the universe got to handle that for us, great spirit power. But all we got to do is raise our vibration and say, am I mastering my own shadow? What am I feeling right now? Do I feel hopeful? Do I feel anxious? Am I afraid? Do I feel like I'm giving my power away? Let me change my thinking so I can be in my body, grounded and centered, and feel positive, create something positive. And as we are doing that, if the momentum is going to shift like that, and there's already a lot of people on the planet who are awakening, we are going to make this shift. We just got to show up. And next year, starting now, Pluto and Aquarius, next year is really going to be the kick it in. For the next 3 or 4 years, there's going to be a lot of social upheaval that could cause people, stress and anxiety if they don't connect with their soul.
And our reality becomes what we focus on at the end of the day, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Wow. That's incredible. And last question on that. It's what are your thoughts? I'm just trying to dig in a bit deeper, because my analytical brain said, well, how does that look like? But not from my heart feeling, if that makes sense. When you speak of potentially the humanity could kind of split. We've got people leaning into this 5D co-creative, compassionate, love-based place where we realize that we all are interconnected and we are all within a unified field, to then this drive of more people burrowing into this me, fear-based, like you say, more power control. And there's that separation between, and do you feel like that gap's just going to widen, or are they eventually going to come across, or how does that look on the planet longer term?
Yeah, I think the Mother Earth has a hand in it. We're starting to get more volatile earth changes, hurricanes, tornadoes, flooding, fires, earthquake phenomenon. When those things happen, people realize, drop all that ideological stuff and help each other. And now there are always going to be people who are going to go criminal, and they choose to go criminal and to abuse, etc. But it can be a painful experience. I mean, just ask the people in Ukraine or in Gaza or Israel how much pain they're going through with the tragedy of the loss and the suffering and the fear. So that's a part of the life process. But again, it always comes back to, you know, you die, you see that your connection with the universe. Most people will get that. Not everybody gets that, but most people do. And now, how can I still be here and still hold the light? How can I hold the light in spite of the darkness all around me? If I can hold that light, I can anchor the body that presence, and I can pick myself up when I fall and reset myself, and we can help each other. Then, if we have earth changes and other extremes, people can gather with people of like-mindedness to create, a support system for each other. And, we're not ready for major cataclysmic things because, like, we're better off just checking out. But it's coming gentle enough to where we can regroup and help each other. And so on some level, there's going to have to be, especially the young generation coming up, being downloaded by the Spirit and awakening to the gifts that they're here to share. And we all have some gift to share. And it's just a matter of finding your expression. And for me, like way back 30 something years ago, 37, 40 years ago, people were not ready for what I had to say. I mean, they were like, I would talk to people and they would go to a kind of a fundamental Christian perspective and they'd be shut down by that, or they just didn't want to hear about it, just not of interest. But today, coming to Sedona, people were wanting what I had to share. So I got a chance to begin to express myself and step into my natural, my niche. I found my niche here. And so it's just a matter of people finding their niche, finding how they can express their creativity, whether if it's through taking ideas and integrating that wisdom way, or energy, self-help with physical diet and physical fitness, but finding something that a person can respond to and put your money into what you believe in, invest in what you believe in, vote for what you believe in, and there's a lot of things out of our control, but because there is a momentum behind it, it's breaking down the old order, and those who are in the way of it, who are trying to control it or corrupt it, they will be exposed. It's going to come out where that power is going to fall. And it's just the main thing about no matter what happens, and nobody really knows exactly how it's going to play out or how soon it's all going to make the big shifts. Because it could happen within this decade, or it may be 50 years from now. And so we can't give up paying the mortgage if you got a house to keep. You got a family to keep. You got to stay practical. But knowing that, every day is a gift to be here, and every day we have a chance to grow. And if we do that, we'll be at least ready to step into what comes next.
Yeah. I couldn't agree. Yeah, it's fascinating, even on my own journey, that, the moment I surrendered into life and the flow and listen to my own calling and become a better version of myself, even through the pain that was driving me forward, my life looks and feels so different to what it did 15 years ago. And it's, sometimes I still pinch myself and think, wow, is this how I'm living my life? It's full of love, it's full of joy, it's got so much in it. But I had to go through so much pain to really appreciate and drink from the cup of gratitude to then appreciate what I have in my life now. And it continues to manifest and unfold because I'm willing to lean into what is drawing me forward, and it's there for everyone if they're willing to kind of listen to that own inner voice, their own inner heart, and actually start to have the courage to just slowly, step by step, take that way. And my hope through my lifetime is to certainly create a place where I leave the world a better place for my children and the legacy that is moving on. And I really feel, especially the teenagers and the kids that are coming into this generation are crying out for guidance and support. And it's all certainly possible, isn't it? If we allow it to happen.
It's really important for people who are inspired to have to share that perspective, because there's so much disinformation out now.
Yeah.
It's got people polarized in what is the truth, and And there are forces working to lift humanity into a new time. It's the forces of the divine that are helping to guide us, but there are also forces working against us. And so when you're on your path, every so often those forces can come at you to try to block you on your path, try to make you ineffective. And so it's very important to create a safe space psychically, mentally around your home, around your family, keep a prayer going, and keep the door closed, not let negative energy in. The veil is getting thinner where people are starting to become more aware in the fourth dimensional level. So if you've ever had a nightmare, then you realize that that's hell realm. Hell realm is like if you have a guilt, shame, blame, addiction that you can't satisfy, negative thought, desires that are corrupted. Those are hell realms. We experience it in the dream level. And when you're in it, it feels so real. But when you get out of it, it's just a dream. So this world here, it feels so real to us also. Like this world, we're physical. But when you're on the other side looking back, you realize this world's not real either. So this 3D world and the 4D world, it's like knowing that there are forces of good and evil on both sides, but holding the light of holding the light of the divine to keep your space protected. It's kind of like the left hand. When people are afraid of the left hand and the full moon. Well, when we're little children, it's like, oh, Mama, would you turn on the light? Because I got to go to the bathroom. I'm scared to go because I got to jump off the bed so the demon don't get me by the ankles. So as kids, we're got this fear that there's demons trying to, scare us and get us. And in reality, that does exist, but they have no power over us once we start to put our prayer to the universe and make connection with our spiritual. Then we can just cast it out because we have the intent. But when people don't have a spiritual connection, and they have negative emotions and addictive personality states, that those forces get into them and begin to influence them and begin to possess them. And so a lot of people have got negative spirits in them, and they don't know that they're being swayed in ways that are, self-destructive. And so that force wants to diminish us. And we have to, and that voice can come into your mind and try to tell you, it's not right, you're wrong, nobody loves you, and they're trying to talk to you negative. And you gotta realize, hey, that's not my voice. This voice needs to step out and say you're afraid of the divine, protect your mind, because it tries to get into your mind. The mind is the weakness, the lower mind. But our lower mind is where we're selfish, or we're self-involved, where we're reactionary, we're defensive, we're self-righteous. The lower mind is for the spiritual warrior, the lower mind is the battleground. That battleground is love. Love heals the wounded ego mind, because the wounded ego mind is a child that didn't feel understood and got wounded and felt disconnected and neglected. And then it compensates and rationalizes, and then it gets selfish, and it has all these shadow aspects of itself. But as we begin to put love into that wounded inner child and a spiritual warrior, we have 4 attributes. The first attribute is prayerful intent. So before you start anything very important, you put your prayer to the universe guide you. And sometimes we just jump in and do things. I just need to do it. We could bump our heads, scrape our knuckles, and get frustrated. So we put that prayer first. It's not my will, but thy will, that I'm in the flow of the universe and not pushing against the current. So the prayerful intent is very important. And then the next attribute is compassion. Because when you push ahead and you bump your head and get frustrated, having compassion for yourself, forgiving and being gentle with yourself, or with those around you who are not living up to expectations, and people have road rage and project anger, having compassion on everybody. Forgive them, Lord, they don't know what they're doing. And the next is the right use of intelligence. Intelligence linked into your intuition, so you can trust your guidance and discern the facts of anything that you're going to believe in. It's like it used to be, people take some information on the internet and go like, oh, this is the truth. Somebody shared this with me. And you research it, like, oh, that's somebody playing a joke on you and trying to see how gullible you are. And so it's like, let me research it, make sure I'm not putting myself out on anything outside myself, but trust my own inner knowing, not get far away to like some type of a belief or information or a misunderstanding. Let me find my own truth. And then the last is patience, because we want enlightenment and freedom right now, and we want to get there right now. Everything should be now, but it's just being present in the moment, cultivating patience. It's on its own timeline, And people have been like 2012 came in, people are going like, hey, we're channeling from the fifth dimensional and talking about the big shift. I said, well, I don't think you should give up your day job if you got to pay the mortgage. And then a lot of people went bankrupt and lost everything because they were bringing in this information, but the timing was not that information down here around different time frame. And so when they say it's happening soon, that can still be 20, 30 years in the future. So we can't be attached to when the big shift comes, because it could happen next year. It could happen this decade, but it may not be for another 15 years, 100 years. And so all we can do is ride the wave of our own personal awakening and adapt to the situation that it shows us. And what we need to know will come to us as we need to know it if we're asking. Knock at the door shall be open, and seek and you shall find. And so we just have to stay on the path and take time to unplug from the world so we can plug into our connection to the source.
Rahelio, wow. Mate, I feel like I could talk to you for hours. I truly do. I hope you will come back on the podcast in the future.
Just invite me in sometime, and I'm here to share.
Yeah, where can people find out more? I'll put links in the show notes to your website and
www.rahelio.com. It's a homestead page with my name is it, Rahelio. I'm also on Facebook.
Okay.
Rahelio on Facebook, Rahelio Rodriguez. I'm on Instagram also. And the link for Facebook is on my webpage. I got an old-fashioned webpage. I did it by hand, text box, and it's very simple. Nothing too, not so modern, but the basics is there. I did that a long time ago, and it's still good today. And people contact me. Sometimes they email me, but I don't always get the email. I can't always get to all my messages because I got so many coming at me. But if they don't hear from me, then just give me a call or give me a text.
Well, look, when this podcast goes out, this will reach thousands of people. So we'll all benefit. So Rahelio, look, thank you so much, my man. I really enjoyed your wisdom today. Much gratitude.
Thank you for inviting me, and I'm really glad to share space with you.